Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This past weekend were the Milwaukee Regional Championships, or in other words, the first regional of Regulation I. You guys see the team behind you right now. That is the team I used to get top 128, but 82nd place at the Milwaukee Regional Championships. And honestly, the team was interesting. I think there's a lot of good concepts on this team. I think it's 6 solid Pokemon. I'm very happy that I brought this team. But there's a lot that I have to say about this, so stick with me if you want to hear my thoughts on it. However, if you do just want the rental, because I'm sure everybody's here for that, but rental code up above and paste and rental down below, as always. But I say we jump into the breakdown without any further ado. Going into Milwaukee, building was going to be absolutely wild. We all knew Zamazenta CSR was one of the top cores. I had known other players were trying to figure out like Koraidon Ice Rider, and I wanted pieces on my team that I was capable of piloting. So you guys can see the team here: Koraidon Calyrex-S, Raging Bolt, Incineroar, Rock Pond, and Brute Bonnet. And immediately off the bat, this Incineroar technically doesn't need to be here. This could be a Chi-Yu. It's probably better team if there's a Chi-Yu there. I just wanted Incin, and we'll get back to that in a second, but I really just wanted pieces that I knew how to pilot. I spent a lot of Reg G before I switched to Kyogre playing Koraidon, so I knew how to pilot that. I had tested a lot of Shadow Rider back in Regulation G as well. Didn't really go my way for any real events, but I did test it, so I did know how to play that, and these two felt really strong to me. So that's kind of how I settled upon this core. It matched up pretty well into the Zamazenta CSR core, and it just felt like 2 strong pieces, right? The way I like to approach double restricteds, obviously your 2 restricteds are going to be your strong pieces, but in the early formats, it felt like having faster pieces felt very good. And having just the fastest piece in the format, especially with this Focus Sash, which I'll get into a little bit, felt really strong if I could support it well, deal with some of the threats that would normally be a problem for it. And then, like I said, it's literally all support after that, right? I even have Electro Web on the Raging Bolt, right? So it's pretty much effectively I am supporting these 2 pieces, and they're the damage dealers here. You can get some good damage with Raging Bolt as well, but overall, I really wanted to support my 2 big restricteds with pieces that I felt comfortable using. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I approached coming to this team. So I'm going to quickly go back to the builder because I was panicking, okay? I don't think these are the correct 6 for this style of team. However, I do think the concept, and they are 6 strong Pokemon, and that's why I ended up settling on it. But you guys can quickly see my builder here. I had a Shenpao, I had a Moongus, I had Indeedee over here at one point with Expanding Force Pollen Puff on the CSR. That was a fun version. I did a little panicking in the middle, almost going back to Swordfish. You also have, I had a Chi-Yu, which is probably the arguably correct slot over Incin. Maybe I should have put it there instead, right? But point of what I'm saying is that there was a lot of thought and a lot of different iterations of this team that I had going into this regional. So yes, I'm going to talk about the 6 that are in front of you, but there is a lot of potential to maybe mix some of these pieces up. I'm going to talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and we're going to start off with this Koraidon. And I like Clear Amulet on my Koraidon. I don't think it's necessary in this format. I think Life Orb is very strong here. However, I was comfortable with Clear Amulet, and I think going into the first regional of a new format, you do not know what you're going to play. So I think comfort is a very big factor in succeeding at a first format of an event. No, first event of a format. There we go. English. No, comfort is very key there because you don't know what you're going to play, right? Like, obviously, I expected to play the Shadow Riders, Zamazentas, and stuff like that, but you never know what you're going to see. So I really wanted to have that comfort piece. And had I switched to Life Orb, I wouldn't have been able to feel as comfortable cycling around. It's one of the main reasons I have Incin as well. It's just, I don't know what I'm doing. I can fall back on, fake out Raging Bolt, and I just have something to fall back on that I'm comfortable playing, just because my comfort is that like kind of true balanced style. But you can easily go Life Orb here. I almost would recommend it. I think it's probably the better item. One of these 2 probably needs to be Life Orb, in my opinion, just based on the way I close this off. Now, if you have Scarf Chi-Yu here, you may not need that, but like I said, you could probably go Scarf Chi-Yu. I went Clear Amulet instead of Life Orb here. I just like the not getting Icy Winded down by something like a booster Flutter Mane that was actually picking up back in usage as well, especially in the mirror matchup where they were like, if they had Flutter Koraidon and they could just Icy Wind me down, it felt kind of a little a little weird, whereas now I can't get Icy Winded. I get my Flame Charge up, and I'm all of a sudden just faster, right? So that felt pretty good. Moveset's pretty standard, guys. It's not any sort of new Koraidon. This is like pretty standard Koraidon: Collision Course, Flare Blitz, Flame Charge, Protect. I was Clear Amulet. I like Collision Course in this case for the Terapagos calcs, and I didn't end up playing a Terapagos. However, the Terapagos calcs, when you're Clear Amulet, are a lot better with Collision Course than they are with Close Combat, especially outside of Sun, because you get the super effective boost from the Collision Course, which actually comes in handy when picking up some of those like bulkier Terapagos, especially those bold variants. But besides the point, that's kind of why I settled on Collision Course. You can easily go Close Combat here, especially if you go Life Orb. I recommend Close Combat. However, other than that, spread is pretty standard here, guys. I want it to go relatively fast. Let me drop this back down to level 50 for you guys so we can break this down. But I want it to outpace Whimsicott. I figured if I was playing speed ties with Miraidon, I wouldn't like that anyways. My line into Miraidon wasn't very strong. I'm going to be honest. I don't love my Miraidon matchup with this team. And that's where I think, a faster Koraidon with a Life Orb would allow me to put and just pressure massive damage into it a little bit faster. However, I settled on 185. This was faster than the Whimsicotts at the time. Never ended up playing any, but I think getting the option to not have to Terra and just drop a Flare Blitz into the Whimsicott, or not have to Terra and hit something else like the opponent or the opponent partnering Pokemon beside the Whimsicott before I have to eat a potential Moonblast, just allows me to play that game where I can save the Terra for a little bit later. This probably should just be Adamant max, or at least max speed at like 187, right? Like, this is just an oversight on my end. This was going into the format. I didn't think that I was going to play a lot of Miraidon. Okay, let me rephrase that. I didn't want to play the Miraidon speed tie. But the amount of Miraidon I played, I should have definitely played the Miraidon speed tie. Does that make more sense? Like, not that I didn't think I was going to play Miraidon, but I didn't think I was going to play as many Miraidon as I did, and I would have liked to, maybe be faster than one of them. So that probably could just change to max speed here. The attack stat, it was something to do, I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty confident it was for Flare Blitz outside, Flare Blitz non-Terra, like if I don't Terra Fire, I wanted my Flare Blitz into Sun to still kill Cali Shadow. I don't remember the exact calc, but it was something along those lines, and I just kind of dumped the rest into bulk here. Absolutely nothing too crazy on this Koraidon. Like I said, you can definitely go max. You can swap to Life Orb. There is a ton of different ways to look at this Koraidon here, guys, but this is kind of what I broke it down to. Pretty standard outside of that. Nothing too crazy. Cali Shadow, on the other hand, I decided to go Focus Sash here. I think the way I play this game without speed control, like I don't have Tailwind, right? So having a Focus Sash and a Sturdy Pokemon allow me to break through those Tailwind teams a little bit easier, right? There's a lot of times, oh, there's 2 turns left of Tailwind. Well, they have to double both of Whimsicott and Ogerpon, and they can't do that. They can't double both, so I don't have to worry about getting a double protect that can just kind of send damage and then protect the one on the next turn that manages to stay alive. It just allowed me to get out of some of the opposing speed control a little bit better, and it's just a really good item. It allows me to play a little bit more freely as well, right? Like, oh, I'm going to click Barrage. Oh, you didn't. Oh, I got the turn wrong. Well, I'm still alive because I have a Sash. Not like I want to be getting turns wrong, but it's also a nice little fallback item. Right, once again, could also be Life Orb here if you choose to play it that way. But if you do go Life Orb here, I recommend a little bit more speed control than what I had on the team. I enjoyed Terra Dark a lot. I could have easily gone Terra Ghost, like very, very easily. But I struggled a lot versus some of the Prankster Grimmsnarls that were picking up in usage. And I wanted to be able to kind of sit in front of them and not have to worry about a Thunder Wave. Right? Like I said, I don't have that immediate speed control. So getting hit by a Thunder Wave on this piece is very, very difficult to overcome sometimes. So if the situation provided it, I could Terra Dark, not get hit by the Prankster move. It's also very good into opposing Calyrex, where, they're maybe Terra Ghost, and then all of a sudden I'm winning that war as well, right? Whether or not I'm faster or not, which is nice. So that's pretty solid there. Outside of that, fairly standard moveset as we've seen most of Regulation I so far, which is Astral Barrage, Psychic, Encore, and Protect. This was Nasty Plot for the longest of times, but I wasn't actually clicking it. Like, in concept, I had double redirection and fake out. I was like, I could click Nasty Plot here. It just wasn't coming into games where I was leading CSR, clicking fake out, nasty plotting, and switching in my redirector, right? Like, I wasn't getting to those positions. and I figured Encore would help me out in the long run, especially, if I can Encore, Zamazenta into maybe the wide guard or into the body press. A lot of opportunities for Encore to be good, and I still think it's one of the best supporting options for a third move here on Calyrex Shadow. Otherwise, super standard spread, guys. Nothing too crazy. Obviously, you tend to see a lot less bulk on the Calyrexes when they are focus sash, but I went max speed. Let me drop this back to 50. But I went max speed just because there's going to be a lot of CSRs. I wasn't going to be the slower one. Worst case scenario, it was going to be a speed tie for me, and I was adamant on that. I was not letting that change. The bulk is for surging strikes from Terra Water Scarf Urshifu. It's basically like a 3% chance to kill me, and you know what? If they get that roll, good for them. I also have Sun, so the chances of that happening, if the chances of them being in a spot where they're just going to get a Terra Water Surging Strikes off where Sun's not on the board is kind of low. So I was okay with a 3% chance there. Didn't need to invest more. And then when I had Sun on the board, it actually becomes a 3-shot or like a 1% chance to like 2-shot me or something like that. So didn't really come up too often. I actually didn't play too many Scarf Water Foos, but like overall the concept here was for that. That's what the bulk is for. You can go max. I'm going to be honest with you guys. You can go max. I'm also going to be honest with you guys in the fact that during this tournament, I clicked Encore more than I clicked Astral Barrage. Which I don't know what that says. I don't know if that just says I pulled everybody that was ready for Shadow Rider. But if you look at the top 8 results of the regional, which we'll probably do a breakdown video at some point as well, there's like one Shadow Rider in top 8. So I feel like everybody was ready for this piece. It actually felt very bad. I'm going to be honest. I did not... At the tournament itself, Shadow Rider did not feel good. However, in practice, Shadow Rider felt fantastic. So, could have just been what I pulled at the tournament. Could have just been everybody was ready for it. I still see potential in this Pokemon. It's still one of the better Pokemon in the format. But it definitely did not have the showing that I would have liked it to have, especially on this team. Because I did kind of need it as one of my damage dealers, and I just never really got it going. Moving on, we got Raging Bolt. I love Assault Vest Raging Bolt. I refuse to go any other item when I use this piece. I will do it if the situation is like super required. But on a team like this, having the Assault Vest, clicking Electroweb is so good, right? Because I'm just able to go Electroweb, board control, and then get my pieces on the board. And that I clicked Electroweb so much this tournament, it's unbelievable. Right, I didn't really click Draco too much, but obviously when the situation is there, right? And one of my favorite leads with this team is like Instant Raging Bolt, right? Once again, I get Instant Raging Bolt, I get to fake out, do the support that I want, whether I'm doing chip damage to something, whether I'm electro webbing, and then what I get to do is I get to go like Parting Shot back into one of my restricteds, and then I've had to support. Maybe I've slowed down their CSR. I get to get my Calyrex onto the board. Electroweb is a must on this team. If you don't have a Tailwind on your team and you have a Raging Bolt, I really recommend Electroweb. I think it's a very strong option here. And it came in handy a lot. Other than that, pretty standard Raging Bolt. We do see a Volt Switch on a lot of these. Like on the Tailwind versions, you tend to see Volt Switch, which is super fine. I just liked Electroweb in this matchup super well. Just felt good all format, just I get to click Electroweb, slow you down. My restricteds are now faster. One of the other reasons that I didn't really feel the need to be any faster on Koraidon as well, just because I had this speed control too, right? Just overall felt very nice. The spread's a little wonky, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not super happy with it. 100 plus is, I believe, the jump. Yes, it is the jump number, and then honestly, I want it to be fast. At one point, I had this sitting at, I believe it was 118, which was to outpace Modest Pelipper, because if I happen to play a Pelipper, it's always nice for my Raging Bolt to be faster. So I bumped it up to 119 in combination with Electroweb, and that basically allows me to be faster than a -1 Ogerpon, guaranteed, which actually comes in handy quite a bit. Right, so basically I can go Electroweb, all of a sudden I'm faster than the Ogerpon. Now I have a Sun boosted Draco before they're able to attack. Right, that was definitely a spot that I wanted, especially with Electroweb, knowing that -1 speed on Ogerpons were something that could feasibly happen. Right, the other things I get to do with this is some of the Lunalas tend to sit around here as well, especially on like some of the Trick Room teams. Obviously, for this line to be consistent, you probably need to bump this speed up a little bit more. I didn't want to do that, but this line was basically I could go Electroweb into knockoff and basically kill all the power herb Lunalas if they weren't expecting it, right? Like if I could burn a Terra early, or maybe if they weren't expecting me to go, just immediate Electroweb knockoff and take a Lunala. I did manage to get one that way throughout the tournament, so it's pretty cool, right? It's not something that you can like feasibly rely on, because I know a lot of the Lunalas do tend to sit around like 120-ish area. But if you can get them and you can figure out that speed tier, it's a pretty cool little move to get off. Other than that, just kind of dumped it in bulk. 219 was just for any random final gambits I may have played. Dumped the rest in defense and then 4 to even off my special defense. Other than that, pretty standard Raging Bolt, guys. Really, the key takeaways here are the Electroweb and the speed option on it. Other than that, if you're going to mess around with like the Electroweb, you can probably change the speed. If you're going to change the speed, keep an eye on your Electroweb stuff. That's all I'm going to say. Incineroar. Terabug Instant, guys, still one of my favorite mons in the format. Probably should have knocked all these levels to 50 before the video, but oh well. Anyways, standard Instant, guys. Safety goggles. Terabug was kind of the thing, talk of the town going into the regional about it, so I'm not too surprised to be bringing it here. I don't expect it to be something like, wow, Terabug, that's so cool. It's kind of standard for this time of the meta. Knockoff Wisp, Parting Shot, Fake Out. I was trying Taunt, okay? I thought Taunt was so cool on this Incineroar, but for the Zamazenta line, I really wanted to have Wisp, and I think just Wisp in general is an overall better move when you don't know what you're playing, right? I could have played like, I don't know, a random physical restricted. Wisp would have been a lot better than having Taunt in those scenarios, right? I think there's cases to be made for both. I ended up settling on Wisp. I think it was just better into the Zamazenta matchup, and that's kind of what I was expecting to play. Parting Shot and Fake Out, guys. It's an Incineroar. There's not much to talk about the moveset. Spread, guys. I'm gonna be honest. 244 to 92 plus. This was, I don't remember exactly what it was for. It had something to do with Calyrex Ice Rider, and I don't know if it was like for the close combat from the Ice Rider or if it was for like Lance into high horsepower. There was something about this, and that's why I didn't want to go careful. Because I had seriously debated going careful for the CSR matchup, where I was like, oh, I can just eat the special attack that much better and deal with Calyrex Shadow Rider, right? But this is the most I was actually able to give up on it based on not wanting to lose my Ice Rider capabilities. Other than that, it's a standard instant. 87 is kind of leftover from when I had Taunt. The Taunt instants do tend to like to go a little bit faster, so you can taunt before they Parting Shot. But then I kind of grew to like 87, so I just kind of left it. It was nice to always pretty much be the faster Fake Out. The fast Parting Shot did get a little awkward, but it also gave me lines where it was like, once again, back to this Electroweb, where I can go for the Electroweb into that knockoff, into something like that Lunala, right? If the situation seemed fit, right? Just that the speed actually ended up being very, very nice. It's not really anything specific, but it's just kind of there. There's not much to say about it, but it was cool. It was fun. Did outpace a lot of the Calyrexes as well, like the Ice Riders, which is pretty good because no Ice Riders, they tend to cap out around 85. You get some crazy ones that go a little higher, but most of them you will outpace with this. So, burning them before Trick Room goes up and stuff like that, getting a knockoff off is never a bad thing either. Overall, the spread could definitely easily be reworked, guys. It was a day one regional format. A lot of these spreads, I can say the same for. You can feel free to modify them. If you want to say the paste exactly, it's down below. If you want to modify it, feel free. Rock Pond, guys, once again, this one's pretty standard. I'm not even going to buy, I will change it to 50 just for the sake of it. But, guys, it's a Rock Pond. It's Ivy Cudgel, Power Whip, Follow Me, Protect. Oh, in this case, Spiky Shield. Because obviously Spiky Shield is just better Protect. I can't change the Terra type. It's Rock. It's going to be Sturdy. Sturdy is just such a good ability, like I was saying, with the Focus Sash on my Restricted. I'm able to just basically say, okay, you're either doubling my Ogre Pond or you're doubling my Restricted. Figure it out. And a lot of the times they can't successfully do that, right? Unless there's back-to-back spread moves on the board, which is something that I should be positioning around anyways and not letting them into that position. Overall, this is a very, very strong option on the team just because, like I said, they're fast pieces. They can't really take them down all that quickly. And it just gets me out of, like, following turns of, like, Tailwind, right? Where it's like, okay, you got to double one, but you can't double both. And one of these two is making it through the turn. And that's such a key factor on a team where you just don't have speed control of your own because you lose that element to keep up with Tailwind, right? Like, yeah, I have Electro, but that's not keeping up with Tailwind in this format, right? Like, Water Spout, and obviously Water Spout is less valuable, but like when I have Sun, but like bad example, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not keeping up with the power level of Tailwind Hyper Offense with an Electroweb. I don't keep up with that. However, I do keep up with it because I can get to the spot where, I can stall out maybe one or two turns and then just these guys can close it out with effectively the double sash. And I think that's a very, very strong option, especially on Sun teams where there's a lot of cycling around. However, once again, standard Ogerpon, guys. I went max attack, max speed, 4 defense. 4 defense was, I think it was like for Surging Calcs, and I just like my HP number being odd. It doesn't matter. Guys, you can put this 4 anywhere. You can go bulk on this Ogerpon if you wanted. Because there was a world where I was like, oh, I just really need to outpace like Chi stuff, right? Or maybe I'll outpace the Lando. Maybe I'll sit at like 169, right? But there was no reason for the bulk, because a lot of the times the bulk you put on Ogerpon Rock is for Surging Strikes. But I already had a Raging Bolt, I already had Sun, and I already had a Brute Bonnet. I really didn't need it for the Surging Strike, so I just sent max. You can feel free to try and change that if you want. I honestly barely looked into a different spread. I started and I was like, why am I doing this? There's no point. But overall, standard Rock Pond, very cool piece. I think the concept of this team was solid. And this is where I messed up. This is where I messed up the team. Terra Fairy Brute Bonnet was possibly one of the worst decisions going into a tournament I have ever made. This needs to be Terra Water, at least on this team. Because I need to be able to bring this to a TU matchup where I can go Terra Water and Click Spore. I need to have that pressure. For whatever reason, I have underestimated or I overestimated my ability to play out of like TU Fluttermane stuff. And I was like, oh, Fairy will be fine. You know, it could be cool. I can redirect Draco Meteors and like stuff like that. But please just switch this to water. Please switch this to water. It should be water. It deserves to be water. Because of this, I brought Brute Bonnet to 1 game. I think it was 1 singular game I brought Brute Bonnet to. I'd have to go back and check. Maybe I'm underestimating it, but I believe it was 1 singular game, maybe 2, that I actually ended up bringing this Brute Bonnet to. And every time I tried to bring it, it would be like, wow, if I could Terra Water here, it would be actually a good piece. And this is just an oversight in prep, guys. Seed Bomb, Sucker Punch, Rage Powder, Spore, though, pretty standard for a Brute Bonnet in this format. Covert Cloak was super clutch. I just never really got to bring it. You know, I love this thing in practice. But for whatever reason, I don't know why I didn't see that Fairy was the problem. It definitely needed to be water. Anyways, could go Pollen Puff here to start healing your pieces. I didn't see a need for that. My team does not have the bulk to benefit off of the Pollen Puff, so Seed Bomb, Sucker Punch, Rage Powder, Spore is what I went with. Other than that, spread is not really much to talk about here, guys. I think this is the bump. Actually, it's not the bump. But anyways, it was definitely for like a body press outside of Sun, is something along these lines. Like you're just able to do that with Brute Bonnet. It was also looking at calcs for Koraidon, like Collision Course Koraidon, so I didn't have to tear in front of that. Like they'll be in Sun at +1 defense. I actually lived the Collision Course here, so a lot of cool things. Obviously, if they're Life Orb, I think it was like a roll, but either way, this was what that bulk was for. The 36 attack made the -1 Sucker Punch into no bulk Cali Shadow a little bit of a nicer roll in my favor. It was still a roll. It's probably irrelevant, but you know, I wasn't about to. I had kind of leftover EVs after I hit what I wanted, and I was like, you know what? I'll throw an attack. That's a cool Sucker Punch roll, and maybe it'll come in handy. I don't know. Not a lot to say there. You don't really need this. You can just go down to 4. But it was cool. It was cool to have. Like I said, I brought it to 1 game. There's not much to say on this piece. I didn't bring it, right? Like I couldn't bring it. 60 Spadef. It was for. I don't know. It was for something, guys. Honestly, this is one of the spreads that I built this thing last minute. I put this thing on a team like the Tuesday night. I played games on the Wednesday, and then I didn't play a game. I actually went to a baseball game instead of playing sets on Thursday. I went to a baseball game after traveling for 8 hours on the Friday, and then played the regional. So I really didn't have too much practice with the Brute Bonnet version of the team, and maybe that's why I didn't see that Fairy was the problem. But this needs to be water, first of all. Definitely look at the spread. I don't really remember what it does all that much. I'm going to be honest here. Somehow got 82nd at the regional. I don't think the team in its current form is good, in case you guys are missing that. Like, in case I wasn't clear, I don't think the team in its current form is actually a good team. I think it works. I think I have 6 functioning pieces. I just don't think it's like a solid team that was ever going to win the regional, right? I kind of just wanted to have that comfort piece, and it did a good job. It gave me chances to win games, right? That is what I will say it did. It gave me chances to win games, and yeah, I was working a little harder than I would have liked to in this tournament. Absolutely. But it gave me chances to win games, and at the first regional of a format, that is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to have chances to play the game the way I was comfortable playing the game and give myself potential lines if the matchup was like not good or anything like that, right? And a lot of my matchups that like I played, I was like, wow, yeah, I don't like what I'm seeing here. I did play a couple CSR Zamazentas, was very happy with that matchup. Had that matchup down, won both of those ones. But like, I don't know, Shen Pao was a pretty big problem for this team as well. I'm not going to get into too many matchups because like I said, there's not a lot that you can really, that I would really recommend bringing this team to. Like, I'm not going to say like, yeah, this is how you do this matchup because like this matchup's so good for me. That doesn't exist. The matchups are cool. The matchups are pretty neutral at best. Didn't have a lot of too many auto losses. There were some uphill things, but definitely things that I could have felt that like I was still able to get out of had I just been the better player. And honestly, a lot of the times this weekend, a lot of my losses, I just wasn't the better player. I took 4 L's this weekend. One of them, I just simply wasn't the better player. They outplayed me entirely. That's right, I lost to Joe Kwan in the Scarf Koraidon mirror. That was a really good set of Pokemon though. They just closed it out. They got the reads right in game 3, and that was Pokemon, right? Then I lost to Zach Carlson in day 1 of round 2. Funnily enough, I lost to Zach round 2 of day 1. That's better. That's what I meant to say. Round 2 of day 1. Nope. Round 1 of day 2. There we go. At Baltimore this season as well. So it was interesting to play them again. I also, once again, lost. Did get crit on my Raging Bolt in the end game, which I think definitely mattered. Definitely cost me the game entirely. I don't know if I win if I don't get crit, but I definitely am in a lot better of a spot if I don't get crit. That's 100%. So we'll see. I would have liked to play that game back without that crit, but that's kind of whatever. And then I lost to Eric, and honestly, Eric just outplayed me. Eric had the matchup there in that case with the Ho-Oh Maridon stuff, and he saw his advantages. He knew what he had to do, and he outplayed me. Simply put, I just got outplayed. And you know what? When you bring a team that is like this, and you bring a team like this, and you're hoping to yourself that, hey, I need to outplay my opponents. It's inevitable that you're going to get outplayed in a matchup that's favorable for your opponent, right? But I do definitely think I could have cleaned up my game a lot. Overall, really, really fun team, guys. You guys can see my whole schedule over there. Like I said, I'm not going to go into matchups. I think there's a lot that needs to be changed about this team for it to kind of keep up with the metagame, especially with 7 out of the 8 top cut teams being Maridon. Definitely look into that. Shen Pao was a problem. Maridon was a problem. A lot of problems for this team that I really shouldn't have had going into the regional. Happy with myself. Happy I pulled out a pretty decent result. Would have loved to get like a top 64 with it, because I do think I think I was playing well enough outside of a few sets that could have maybe gotten a top 64, but you know what, 82nd is still a solid result. I'm not overly happy, but you know what, we'll pretend I'm happy with it. You know what, we're happy with it. Positivity. I do plan on getting hopefully a few more team reports on the channel. Bring on some other players there for that as well. Just because it's so early format, and I think talking about teams from the first regional sparks a lot of interest, right? And that's like, once again, I wasn't going to do a team report for like 82nd place. Like, it's a good result, but it's not what I was really looking for. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to use this team. Maybe somebody else can see this team and, get a cool idea from it. So here's the team, guys. As I said before, thank you all for listening. I rambled the entire video. If you guys somehow made it through all of my rambling to this point, thank you. I appreciate it. Anyways, hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. Hope you guys do enjoy this type of content. But with that, if you do enjoy the content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And of course, I really do appreciate it. But with that, I'm going to get out of here, and I will catch you all in a future video.